Hey everyone, it's story time about how trying to get a tooth out put me into the emergency room. I've been posting about this a little bit online in case you guys have not seen this at all. All throughout January, I've been getting a lot of dental work done, which is mostly I had some wisdom teeth that I really needed to get out pretty badly. It was my bottom ones on either side have been they've been hurting and causing like intermittent problems every few months or so. Like those feel like a little sore because like they're growing into each other, and it was getting pretty annoying. It started to hurt, and like I knew it was something I needed to do and actually take care of, and I hadn't been to a dentist in a long time. So one of my goals for myself this month was to get these freaking things out because they've always been causing so many problems, and I always wanted them out. And I figured now's the time to do it. It's January. The YouTube ad revenue sucks. So if I need to like take some time off for recovery, now's the time to do it. It's also a reason why I haven't gotten a whole lot of work done on any new ProJared videos this month because of this. And I'll get to that. So yeah, they said my top ones are okay. I don't need to worry about my top wisdom teeth because they're far up enough in my skull that to get to them, they would need to like drill through bone or something, and that just did not sound worth it. But they had to get my bottom ones, especially the one on the right, because that one was already like coming up out of the gums a little bit. All the more reason to get it out. So I got my first one out on January 6th, like the beginning of this month. I went in and got this one removed. And I went into it like with a lot of preparation, knowing what I was going to need, how to take care of myself afterwards. A lot of people in Twitch chat or in Instagram or wherever were also trying to give me a lot of advice, and a lot of people made it sound way worse than it actually was going to be. Ended up not being too bad. The procedure itself was okay. I did not get laughing gas or knockout gas or anything like that. I got local anesthetic, which meant that I was awake the whole time. All I did is I just took, it's not a brand deal, but it could be one. I took my Raycons and just like popped in my earbuds and just listened to Magic the Gathering podcasts while they just did their work. I could like kind of feel it. And the dentist was like leaning over me in such a way that like if I wanted to, I could look into her glasses and see the reflection into my mouth. I chose not to do that. I just stared directly at the light and nowhere else. But I definitely felt it. And this one, I don't know if it was giving them troubles or anything, but it seemed like they basically had to like shatter it inside of my mouth and take it out piece by piece, because at some point they were using some tool that whirred and buzzed a lot, and I just felt a like chunk of tooth fly out of my mouth, hit my bottom lip, and like bounce out into the room, lost into nothingness, or until the cleaning lady comes by and vacuums it up. But I felt that, and I was just laying there. I was just like, well, all right, there we go. Let's progress. Yeah, but then they got it out. They stitched it up. They didn't ask me if I wanted to keep it. I didn't want to keep it. Not interested. But you got this one out. I was under the impression that they were going to do both sides all at once, so I could just be done with it. This ended up not being the case. They only did the one right side and said, okay, here's your gauze. Here's what you need to know. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, okay. That seems a little... That's not what I expected, but all right. And I recovered. And I ended up recovering pretty well. I think I was a little ambitious with my recovery. Like, I think I tried... That was on a Wednesday when I did that. I think I tried streaming again right away on, like, that Saturday or Sunday, and it still hurt. That was not a smart choice by me. I kept it a short stream because it was hurting too much, but I definitely got a little overzealous there. But then by like Monday or Tuesday, I was mostly fine again. Still avoiding like eating on that side, still a little tender and stuff like that. I had the stitches in there, but for the most part, it's okay. Now, come to last week, Wednesday, on the 20th, I went in to get the other side done. Now, this tooth was a little bit deeper down into the gum compared to this tooth, but with how what I thought was a generally pretty easy recovery on this side, I wasn't too worried about this. So did the same thing. I lay down at the dentist chair. They gave me the sunglasses so I could stare up into the light, popped in my Raycons, and just let them go to work. This one definitely seemed a little bit deeper down, a little more rooted, a little more difficult for them to get out because I don't know if they actually broke it into pieces to take it out or if they just muscled it. It felt like they muscled it. Like at one point, it felt like they were basically taking the equivalent of like a crowbar and just like jamming it in there and trying to like pop it out. Like at one point, my dentist was like leaning over me and I felt her like arms like kind of string just and like it going up against my gum as it felt like just trying to pry it out. Hard to say. So at the dentist, at that moment in the chair, I was just kind of like, okay, this seems a little bit harder, but all right. But they got it out. Same thing as before, local anesthetic. I was awake the whole time. Didn't feel anything other than like the pressure. Like no pain or anything. Like you feel like the pressure of something like happening somewhere in your jaw, but didn't actually hurt. When they got the tooth out, same thing, gave me your gauze. And they were just like, yep, it's going to be the same thing as last time. And they also said, expect more pain with this one. And I was kind of like, all right. And turns out they weren't kidding. This second one on my left side where the tooth was deeper in, that one hurt so much more than this one. Oh my God. Like even after I got home and the anesthetic was wearing off, like it was immediately just like, oh no, ow. Now they did give me a prescription for painkillers, which I did take right away. But even then, like with those, it still just hurt quite a bit. Plus the painkillers they gave me, it was hydrocodone. It was making me, it just makes me like sleepy, which is good because you can try to rest through the pain. But it also was making me like a little bit nauseous and itchy. So it was like a generally very uncomfortable. Like I couldn't really talk. I couldn't really open my mouth. I had to keep the gauze like kind of clenched down to help stem off the bleeding as I was trying to recover. And but this pain persisted. And I ran out of that hydrocodone pretty quick. And one of my dentists said to me was, if you run out of hydrocodone and you're still having some pain or whatever, you can use some Tylenol to help take care of it. And I said, okay. And that's what I did with the first tooth as well. Anytime it was hurting, when I ran out of my prescription, I was using Tylenol. And this is where we're getting into the hospital part. Because this second tooth was hurting so much more, and I was kind of in and out of not exactly consciousness of like falling asleep or not, but like I was generally pretty out of it. It was hurting so much more that I was taking Tylenol pretty frequently. Too frequently. Unhealthy levels of frequently. I was taking so many pills just to get through the pain that was in my mouth and just to even be able to sleep at night. I think that was what was really messing me up, is that I couldn't go to bed and sleep for more than like 2-3 hours at a time, because at some point I would just wake up in pain and I couldn't go back to sleep with all that pain is still there. So I remember waking up and like trying to take some extra Tylenol or something just to help, kill that pain so I could get some sleep. And compared to the first tooth, I was taking Tylenol on this one more frequently and for longer. Like I feel like there was more days where I was taking this. And this all accumulated to a morning where I was feeling incredibly sick. Just like super sick. And it got to the point where I was just vomiting a lot. Just like I couldn't keep anything down. Like I tried to drink some water, it would just come back. I tried taking some Tums to help, calm your stomach, make you feel better. And then the Tums came back up and it was really bad. I had taken so much acetaminophen that I had essentially poisoned myself. And that's how I ended up in the hospital, in case you didn't see that. That's how I ended up there. Just a quick selfie while I was there. And they hooked me up to an IV right away and just got fluids into me. They took some blood work because the main thing they wanted to check was that I didn't do any kind of permanent damage to my kidneys or anything like that. And thankfully, I didn't. All the blood work stuff came back on the positive note, like no permanent damage. By the time I was in the hospital, I had the fluids going into me. Any traces of Tylenol or acetaminophen was out of my system, and I was doing okay. Once they got the IVs into me, I started feeling better. Just actually getting any kind of like fluids going into me. And cold. Like it was also making me cold. I've never been hooked up to an IV drip like that before, so that was a new experience. And yeah, so I did end up being okay, but I just wanted to tell that story for, well, multiple reasons. One, go see your dentist. I don't want to hear an excuse. I haven't been there in so long. It's embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. There's nothing embarrassing about taking care of yourself. To give you an example, when I went to the dentist just to get my teeth cleaned, I hadn't been in the dentist in probably a good decade. And you know what happened? It was okay. She cleaned my teeth and said, your teeth look good. No cavities. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, all right, thank you. That's all it was. It was not embarrassing. There was no shame or anything. And I felt way better just getting that taken care of. And that's also when I talked to her about getting my wisdom teeth taken out. So please, go do your regular checkups at the dentist. You don't want any kind of mouth or dental pain. Please do it. You'll be okay. Don't be scared. Promise. Two, I kind of wanted this to be a sort of cautionary tale to anyone else out there to be careful with any kinds of prescriptions or drugs or whatever. Be careful with that. I was not, and I suffered the consequences for it. And I fear that there can sometimes be this mindset that some people have where it's like, oh, yeah. Like, that's the recommended dosage, but I can take more. I've taken more before, and I've been okay. Those rules don't apply to me. No. That's not a good mindset. That's not healthy. Please don't think like that. Always follow what the recommended dosage is, even for just over-the-counter drugs. So that was my main thing, is just like, even if you're just taking, I don't care if it's ibuprofen or Advil or whatever, please be careful about that. Don't take too many. Don't be like me. Don't overdose or anything like that. So I guess that's the main reason I wanted to tell the story, was that go see your dentist and follow prescriptions. Don't be a dummy like me. I want to thank everyone who showed all their support while I was recovering. I only had to be in the emergency room for a couple hours, by the way. They were waiting on my blood work at first, and if it was bad, they had to give me some like additional medication to retroactively go against what the Tylenol did, and then keep me in the hospital for 24 hours. But because all my blood work stuff came back pretty positive, I was only there for like 2-3 hours. It was not bad at all. But still, anyone who came and showed their support on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, thank you for that. I also want to give special thanks to Holly for taking me to the emergency room when my stubborn ass wouldn't do it. I don't know why, but I had like this weird adversity to going to the hospital at all. Whether it was a couple things. One, it's like, oh, I can't go to the hospital. I can't afford that. That costs money. I can't do that. Two, I also have some like own personal weird, I guess, traumas when it comes to going into any kind of hospital or emergency room that was kind of scaring me off from going there. But as soon as I was in there and I was sitting down on the bed and they were taking care of me, I was fine. But like that fear and that anxiety was still real. Almost like if I go to the hospital, I'm proving that it's worse than it actually is. And maybe I didn't want to do that. Plus, again, some other personal stuff. But anyway, yeah, she took me to the hospital, and I can't thank her enough for that. Because I was definitely just be like, no, I'll be fine. I just got to muscle through it. I'll be okay. And she's like, no, you're going to the emergency room. And she took care of me. So also thank you to Holly for that. But Anywho, if you've noticed, if it feels like I've been a little low energy on some of the recordings lately, that's also why, because I tried to record in between getting teeth taken out whilst on painkillers, whilst not at 100%, but still trying to be funny, doing my best. So that's all. I just wanted to share that real quick story and words of advice. That's all. Thanks for listening.